A misplaced modifier is a word, phrase, or clause that is improperly separated from the word it modifies or describes. Because of this separation, sentences with this error often sound awkward, ridiculous, or confusing. Here's an example. I borrowed a purple woman's climbing harness. Clearly, what the author means here is that the harness was purple, not the woman. So to correct, I would write, I borrowed a woman's purple climbing harness. Misplaced adjectives are incorrectly separated from the nouns they modify and almost always distort the intended meaning. Here's another example. The tattered child's book lay on the ground. Here, we're clearly supposed to understand that the book is tattered, not the child. So to correct, we could say, the child's tattered book lay on the ground. Misplaced adverbs can also create unintended meaning in sentences. Here are 3 correct sentences with very different meanings depending on how we place the word just. Just Winston got his rabies shot. Winston just got his rabies shot. Winston got just his rabies shot. These 3 sentences sound very similar, but their meanings are very different. In the first sentence, only Winston and no other dog got his rabies shot. In the second sentence, Winston got his rabies shot very recently, as in a short time ago. In the third sentence, Winston got his rabies shot, but no other shots. So you see how the choice of word placement can make a huge difference in the meaning of the sentence. Other commonly misplaced adverbs include only, just, nearly, merely, and almost. Here are a few more examples. George only donated to the food bank. Now this is a perfectly good sentence, except that it's a bit ambiguous. Because only occurs before the verb donated, it makes me think that perhaps George also did other verbs regarding the food bank. Perhaps he volunteered at the food bank or worked there. A better, more accurate sentence would say, George donated only to the food bank. That is, he donated to the food bank, but not to the animal shelter or to the hospital. Here's another one. They nearly drove 300 miles today. What I assume the meaning of the sentence is that they drove something close to 300 miles, like 295 miles. But because nearly happens right next to drove, that makes me think that possibly they may have almost driven, but instead not gotten in their car at all. A better version of this sentence would say, they drove nearly 300 miles today. Misplaced phrases may cause a sentence to sound awkward and may create a meaning that does not make sense. We built a fence around the chicken coop made of barbed wire. Presumably, the fence is made of barbed wire, not the chicken coop. So we'd want to say, we built a fence made of barbed wire around the chicken coop. Job cursed the day he was born. Presumably, as an adult, Job looked back at the day he was born and cursed at it. But the sentence could also mean something like, he came straight out of the womb and cursed. The president said on Monday he would announce a decision. This one's tricky. Did he say on Monday, I am going to announce a decision? Or did he promise that he would announce a decision on Monday? For many of these sentences, you have to use context to decide how to make the correction. A dangling modifier is a phrase or clause that is not clearly and logically related to the word or words it modifies. As a dermatologist, you should definitely get that mole checked. I think what this author means to say is, as a dermatologist, I think you should definitely get that mole checked. Having been fixed the night before, Jane drove the car to work. clearly here it's the car that was fixed, not Jane. So we'd want to say something like, Jane drove the car, which had been fixed the night before, to work.